it's a beautifully constructed song. It's very regular. There are no half rhymes. It has a great deal of discipline in the writing. I mean, Bob says somewhere that he doesn't know where it came from. He just more or less just wrote it down and so on. Well, you know, Bob says a lot of things. And even contrasting that claim with the discipline that the outer layer of the song, if you like, makes clear is quite surprising. But then, yes, I mean, it's beautiful. And as a melody, as a voice, as a piece of timing, all that works just extraordinarily well, you know. And no one else, for example, could ever deal with something like Cain, I now behold this chain of events that I must break, you know, and he does break on break, but he also pauses enough for anyone to register that chain rhymes with Cain in that thing. I mean, there's just loads of little things that you catch and you pick up on as it flows through when you listen to it. And yeah, you know, you could listen to it a couple of times and just think, well, this is a really nice religious or partially religious song. But maybe you know, it doesn't necessarily call to most of us to notice how much biblical allusion there is in it. If he had written it in the 19th century, everyone would have picked up on that stuff, anyone literate, because everybody knew their Bible far, far better than we do now. But Bob Dylan, yeah, his use of biblical text has never been better demonstrated than in this song, you know. All this material about the pool of tears and, you know, Daniel's confession, all these things. The biblical reading that he has done underneath this song is just phenomenal. I mean, I know this because in order to cope with Dylan's born again years, I had to, you know, make myself read the King James Bible from start to finish. I mean, that was part of the work I did, you know, and I can't say it was always enjoyable. It certainly wasn't fun, but there's a lot of beautiful English writing in it and the English language version. But what became so clear was just how much of this stuff Bob Dylan had studied, you know, and how lightly he could bring it in. There's none of the tub thumping here. This is really beautifully crafted biblical allusion. Every grain of sand deals very differently from Yonder Comes Sin, with what may be conflict just as fundamental, that between faith and doubt. Though, as we shall see, this interpretation of the song's theme seems open to doubt itself. It is when Daniel heeds the prophecies of Jeremiah that he makes his confession. That is, he pours out his soul in fervent prayer to God, earnestly asking for pardon and restoration for his captive people. This is why it is open to doubt as to whether the Dylan song is really about faith versus doubt. As with Daniel, when the song's voice is reaching out somewhere, and when there's someone there only sometimes, it may not be that he doubts God's existence, but that his knowledge of mankind's sins leads him to feel uncertain whether God is yet ready to answer his supplication. On the surface, the bit that comes out to you about doubt versus faith is the quote about sometimes there's someone there, other times it's only me. This must strike most people as a statement that sometimes I wonder if God's there at all. I can't feel him there. He doesn't seem to be there. And, you know, then we get to the end of the verse and we get the neater, more balanced, I am hanging in the balance of the reality of man or of a perfect finished plan, whichever version you're hearing at the time. And either way, balance, what, between faith and doubt, between understanding and the truth. But yeah, sometimes there's someone there, some other times it's only me, is the suggestion of faith versus doubt. But what I'm saying in the paragraph or two that you've just quoted is, in that the text is following Daniel when he's dealing with confession, then a whole other meaning emerges, which is not faith versus doubt, but faith about whether God is really so forgiving as to still be listening. Sometimes he's there, sometimes it feels like he's not. Is he sufficiently forgiving, not just of my sin, but of mankind's sin in general? I mean, Daniel takes it on himself to shoulder the burden of this whole world. But whether Dylan is imagining himself to be doing that or not, I don't know. But the parallel with Daniel and the narrative voice of Every Grain of Sand is very clear from how many times you can look. In the case in my book, it's there, it's bounced back to you in the footnotes. How many times the text parallels a phrase or a verse of biblical text.